We would like to acknowledge that we are on the unceded ancestral lands of the Lheidli T'enneh. We are honored to be guests and visitors here, where we live, work, and play. This is what can happen when adults step out of the way and students make decisions and design their own learning. This is student agency.
My name is Harsh Dhaliwal, and I'm part of the District Student Advisory Council here at SD57 in Prince George, British Columbia. We've all heard stories of racism, whether it's through social media or through the news, but we lack an awareness of its prevalence in our day-to-day life. Through this project, we're able to listen to real-life stories from people in our communities and in our schools. And through this project, we really want to invoke deep listening and impact people through the power of story and through the heart.
My daughter said to me one day, Mom, I always had this feeling that teachers have low expectation of First Nations kids in the North in those schools in the far North.
I really enjoyed social studies and history, but in those classes I felt like racism, I'm like, oh, it's a good thing we've dealt with that. That's a thing of the past. And now, the conversations in a history or social studies class are so much deeper than that, right?
I mean, there's not one time particular within elementary or high school that I really remember learning about some of the Muslim celebrations that I celebrate. Right now we're in Ramadan, I'm fasting right now. And at the end of Ramadan there's Eid. People don't know about these things. So I definitely think, more awareness of these cultural celebrations that other people are experiencing. There's a huge focus on Christmas, and I get it. We're living in Canada, that's a big focus. But I think just more focus and understanding of the good things. In other religions, I had that fear, even to this day wearing my hijab, that people assimilated me with the wrong things. Because growing up, throughout high school, I'm trying to think about every time I've seen somebody wearing a hijab, and the only thing that stands out to me is these pictures of farmers in a textbook, or reading an article about refugees. I only assimilate negative images, not even negative, just not me. I don't see myself. I don't see a strong woman who can do whatever she wants. I don't see that narrative.
It's obvious, when students tell you things like, I think the teacher don't like me, or I just don't feel validated in the classroom.
So I always felt like my culture was a little bit seen, but I think there's definitely places where schools can be doing more and kind of opening up to a broader range of cultures.
In an environment, in a classroom, there can be a lot of negative energy sometimes, and teachers need to try and create an environment. And I know it's difficult, but they need to try and create an environment where every single student feels comfortable.
I have this perception that teachers and their own opinions and talk about students, it comes back. It finds a way back to us. So just like you thinking, you hear us talking about you and all that, it comes back. It's both ways.
It's amazing when you build a relationship in the classroom. When you have that one-on-one, you're validated, you're cared for. Then comes the academic, then comes the different way of teaching.
Yeah, so we would just, even exercises within our class where we would talk about where we're from, or somebody like me where my father's from the Caribbean islands, and we would just discuss our heritage and where we came from, and we would all share that and sort of bond through that, really.
Having more representation on things like just opening up our doors and just really letting people join our clubs and things like that. When we see people who feel like they're different, we can go to them and be like, we want you to join this, or we want you to do this, so that they don't feel out of place. And then we can have those representation on things like our sports teams or academic teams.
I just hope that there's more resources available for other kids that maybe the resources available now aren't exactly for them. Even getting to a point where we don't need resources, where they feel like they just can just exist as kids and don't feel that pressure of the racism around.
The biggest change for me in education was when I started to see role models. I thought when I was young that certain things were not available to me.
I have a lot. I came from an elementary school where racism wasn't really talked about at all, and there was not a lot of people that would stand against it. And so I saw a lot of it, even though I didn't really at the time know that it was exactly racism.
I think that I was left a little bit uneducated about racism. I think I was taught like the basics about what it was, but it wasn't really till I got to high school that I started to realize that there was like a lot more to racism, like microaggressions and police brutality and stereotypes and stuff like that. In elementary school, it was kind of a taboo subject. Like people didn't really want to talk about it because it made them uncomfortable.
I want to see more education, and I want to see actually kids from a younger age being able to stand up against it and actually know what to say and know how to deal with it.
When calling out racism, it isn't only calling out the person that's doing it, but also helping the victim.
I just wish that the teachers just gave me a clean plate, you know, a fresh start. Like, stop. I know I've effed up basically, but like, you just got to give kids second chances all the time. And it was like, trust me, everybody in my life is trying to teach me a lesson right now. I'm 15, 16, I'm growing up, and I just want to fit in somewhere, you know.
That teacher who had reached out to me, he didn't treat me any differently. You know, he saw my grades, but he didn't treat me as like one of those kids who like would always do bad. He was like, oh no, you got this, like the next one you'll do better, it's okay. And he just was really encouraging.
You imagine a school where kids feel that they belong, that they're inclusive, that it's safe from a First Nations student perspective. I think things are getting better. They have to be, you know, but we all have to look at ourselves as educators and ask ourselves, how do I make change? And how do I, within my helping capacity, do the very best I can to build a relationship so that way kids feel inclusive and they feel that they belong.